September 17th. By 14:30 hours, the first airdrop is complete. By all accounts, the Allied jumps are near perfect, though critical equipment was lost in the Arnhem sector. In Eindhoven, German troops abandoned San after destroying the main bridge. German forces in the area gained strength as they absorbed elements of their scattered 15th Army. In Nijmegen, the Groesbeck Heights and two main bridges are captured by the Allies, but the main Nijmegen bridge is successfully held by the Germans. The 82nd Airborne digs in to wait for 30 Corps' arrival. Allied problems compound in Arnhem when poor communications caused General Urquhart to be separated from his command. Lieutenant Colonel John Frost's British 2nd Battalion has secured the North Bridgehead, but is cut off from the remaining British troops by the 10th SS Panzer and Kampfgruppe Kraft. Allied command is unaware of the severity of their troops' problems. By day's end, 30 Corps has advanced only 7 miles to Valkenswaard, south of Eindhoven. Operation Market Garden is already 18 hours behind schedule. September 18th. The second Allied airdrop is delayed by poor weather in England. More than half the supplies are captured by Kampfgruppe Veld in Groesbeck and Von Tito in Arnhem when they retake Allied landing zones. Nijmegen and Eindhoven gain strength from the Allied reserves, but in Arnhem they are dropped in the midst of a conflict with the Dutch SS, causing heavy losses. General Urquhart remains out of contact during these crucial hours. British troops, unable to help Frost on the Arnhem bridgehead, retreat west to Oosterbeek. Frost ignores an offer to surrender and fights on, still expecting 30 Corps to arrive later that day. With no surviving bridges over the Wilhelmina Canal, 30 Corps begins construction of a Bailey Bridge in San. Kampfgruppe von Tito begins to encircle the British Arnhem units. The Jungwirth Fallschirmjäger training battalions apply pressure along the 17 miles of Hell's Highway. This narrow stretch of road is the focus of the only serious German threat south of Arnhem. September 19th. German forces maintain their control of the Allied drop zones. Few supplies and supporting troops reach their Allied targets. 30 Corps secures Grave Bridge and arrives south of Nijmegen to link up with the US 82nd Airborne. Access to the main Nijmegen Bridge remains in control of German artillery on the north bank. German tanks and troops attempt to regain the crossing at San, but are repulsed. Other failed attempts are made at Vegel and along Hell's Highway. The Allied situation in Arnhem is critical. Several brigades have suffered heavy or complete losses while trying to reach Frost on the North Bridgehead. General Urquhart fights back to his HQ in Oosterbeek only to regain command just as Oosterbeek is surrounded and cut off by Von Tito. Several unofficial ceasefires occur in Arnhem, allowing both sides to attend their wounded. September 20th. Airborne reinforcements for Arnhem are grounded again due to bad weather in England. At 1900 hours, 30 Corps crosses Nijmegen Bridge with a combined boat and artillery assault. To avoid fighting at night in the bogs and soft ground surrounding the island road, General Horrocks halts 30 Corps a few miles short of Arnhem. The first preliminary reports of the situation in Arnhem and Oosterbeek begin to reach Allied HQ. Late at night, panzer reinforcements from the Arnhem area start to mass north of the bedded-down 30 Corps. In Oosterbeek, the fierce fighting and deadly stalemate between Urquhart and Von Tito is dubbed der Hexenkessel, the Witch's Cauldron. September 21st. Their supplies exhausted after 88 hours of constant battle, Frost's men finally surrender the North Bridgehead of Arnhem. With the bridge again in German hands, the 10th SS Panzer Corps heads south to directly engage 30 Corps. A new front line forms between Arnhem and Nijmegen. After a 4-day weather and communications delay, the Polish 1st Parachute Division is redirected to Driel. Unable to cross the lower Rhine into Oosterbeek, the Polish troops dig in. The 43rd Wessex Division of 30 Corps is dispatched to assist the Poles. September 22nd. The Germans re-engaged the thinly spread Allied troops in an attempt to cut 30 Corps' narrow supply corridor between Belgium and Nijmegen. The US 82nd and 101st spend the day defending the perimeter. For several crucial hours, the corridor is successfully cut in 2 places. At Kevering by tank-reinforced Kampfgruppe Huber and at Vegel by Kampfgruppe Walther. Kampfgruppe von Tito renews its effort to clear out Oosterbeek. A Polish attempt at crossing the lower Rhine to relieve Urquhart is a disaster, and the Oosterbeek front remains a stalemate. General Urquhart informs HQ that relief in the next 24 hours is imperative. September 23rd. German troops fail to retake Wegel at the north end of Hell's Highway. The fighting delays the British relief effort for Oosterbeek a critical extra day. Attrition and exhaustion begin to tell on both sides in Oosterbeek. In a late-night crossing, 200 Polish paratroops join in support of General Urquhart's perimeter. Aware of the desperate situation, Allied HQ informs Urquhart that he has permission to make a strategic withdrawal. September 24th. Field Marshal Model increases the effectiveness of his battalions by restructuring them to include both armor and supporting infantry. In addition, 45 Tiger II tanks arrived from Germany to join the assault on Oosterbeek and 30 Corps. Unable to negotiate freely on the soft land with their 68-ton bulk, they lay down deadly fire from the perimeter. Supported by Jagdpanther tanks, Battalion Jungwirth cuts the Allied corridor in Kevering. Portions of 30 Corps are trapped on the narrow road south of the blockade and are heavily damaged by the tank assault and artillery shelling. September 25th. German troops are forced to relinquish Kevering. As they withdraw, they heavily mine the road. This further delays the Allied advance. The withdrawal of the surviving Allied troops from Oosterbeek, dubbed Operation Berlin, commences during the night. Urquhart's troops evacuate through a 700-meter gap along the lower Rhine. A thin perimeter of sick and injured remain to cover their retreat. Only 2,000 of the original 10,000 men in the Arnhem sector leave Oosterbeek. September 26th. Operation Market Garden officially ends. With no margin for error, the Allied plan has collapsed upon itself. The final Allied goal, the bridge at Arnhem, remains just out of reach. Abandoning hopes of a quick resolution in Europe, the Allies dig in along the new front. German forces will occupy Arnhem until April 1945, when the decimated city will be liberated by the 1st Canadian Army. September 27th. A day of cleanup and resolution. The Allies have secured a 130-mile front deep into Holland. Of almost 40,000 Allied troops, 17,000 failed to return. The German forces incur casualties estimated at 3,000 to 8,000 men. German reprisals for assistance to the Allies are steep. For the people of occupied Holland, the hunger winter begins. In the grim months that follow, 18,000 civilians will lose their lives. Field Marshal Montgomery would maintain that Operation Market Garden was 90% successful. Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands would reply, "My country can never again afford the luxury of a Montgomery success."